Welcome to the Octopus Movement podcast. My name is Casey Berman. I am one of the hosts of our ongoing podcast where we dive into the world of nonlinear with our founding members. And today we have a very special guest. We have the founding member, the Dr. Octopus, Perry Knoppert, the visionary founder and driving force behind the Octopus Movement. Perry, how are you?
I'm doing well. What an introduction, Casey. It's so not true, you know that. It's so I didn't do anything. I didn't came up with the name myself. I didn't do anything. It's all, and I'm not
You,
trying to be humble here, but it's really true.
you,
It's not, you
Listen, if
know.
someone kept calling me visionary founder, I'd get awkward and embarrassed myself. So thankfully, no one calls me that. But you definitely have had a vision. You definitely have acted. If anything, you need an idea. My favorite definition of innovation is not just the invention of something, but is putting it into action. Right. So,
Mhm.
which you've done. So, first of all, my first burning question, because I know today we're going to take some time to just kind of talk about the foundation of the Octopus Movement, give some background on it for everybody. I know we have a lot of returning listeners and a lot of new listeners. How did you or just the universe come about with this name of the Octopus
um, just for the name, it's Christine and Haley. I was in Clubhouse back then,
Movement?
right during the pandemic, and I was intrigued. I was interviewing multi-potentialites. I was talking to people that don't fit in the box, like myself. And I was having so much fun, but all these labels were up in the air: multi-potentialite, scanner, polymath, zebra in France. Can you
Yeah. Right.
imagine? Um, I was thinking, that's not it. Because if this is about something bigger, then it cannot be just being a multi-potentialite. So, and after interviewing, I think around 70 people or something like that, I
Mm.
noticed that they were all curious misfits. And I asked a group of people, I said, what is the symbol of a curious misfit? And Christine in London said, I always send an emoji of an octopus to someone if I had a fun conversation by phone. I said, "Oh, that's cool. Why do you do that?" She said, "I don't know. Maybe because I'm from Greece." Or, and then Haley in South Africa said, "Have you seen My Octopus Teacher?" Awesome movie. I watched it the same evening, and then for me it clicked. Like, oh, that filmmaker going back home in South Africa, going back to nature, who had burnout, who was not
Mm.
happy, was thinking, is this it?
Yeah.
And started swimming in the ice cold ocean every day, and got into a friendship with an octopus. And then that octopus, with the three hearts, the nine brains, and the eight arms, the adaptability and transforming shape and color. I was thinking, that's us in a
I love
way.
it. I
That's
love
what
it.
happened. Yeah.
Christine, if you're watching, thank you. If you're not watching, thank you. What a great background on that. The clubhouse, that's going way back. And thank you. Because I've always wondered how you got the name of the octopus.
That's why. Yeah.
So the octopus movement, Perry, as you know, is very dynamic. It's so new in so many ways, but there's a lot of labels, like you just described. I've heard it described in many ways. Non-linear. Uh, you hear it in just so many different ways. You were hearing it with labels back then on Clubhouse. I mean, how is it being described? What are some other labels that are kind of putting on it, and how do you describe it? How should we really think of this movement?
Well, it's what I want to say about that is that it's not a neurodiversity movement, and I think
Yeah.
it's easy to go there, right? Oh, people with neurodiversity, autism, ADHD, bipolar, and
Now
that's
let's jump
not
in for a second, Perry.
it.
How do we non-divergent?
Mhm.
Let's define that for a second, because non-divergent is kind of it's behavioral, right?
Yeah, well, neurodiversity is such a difficult one in a
Right.
way, because apparently when I heard it the first time, I was like, neurodivergent, neuro brain diversity. That's all of us, right? We're all different in our thinking. This is
Right.
cool. But then I found out that you're only in neurodiversity when you have a problem, more or less.
Yeah.
So I went to my family doctor one day. Very personal story here. I was doing some online tests about autism together with my son, and we were scoring very high. I was like, oh, so I went to see my doctor and I said, well, should I be tested for autism? And he said, are you experiencing any problems because you have these traits? I said, no,
Right.
my life is okay. He said, then don't test.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. And I was thinking, but that's weird because I want to understand myself better. So that helps to discover who you are by doing these kind of tests. So, and then I was thinking, but then there is a space before neurodiversity because I feel weird and I'm proud to be weird, like many other people, but there's something not working. I'm not like everybody expects me to be in some areas.
And if you're neurodivergent, you're diverging, which is fun, but still you're off the path, right? Typical, the joyful path, the opposite of neurodivergent is neurotypical, which is normal, which is just what you're supposed to be, which I think of, gay and straight, right? Well, I'm gay. Well, what's opposite of gay or homosexual? Straight. Oh, typical, straight. So language is not neutral here. We're already showing our bias in it, right? I get it. So neurodivergent, you kind of get it, but then the opposite of neurodivergent is neurotypical, and now we've got this duality.
I think so. And what happens with the space before neurodiversity? So I'm Perry, and whatever, and then I do a test, and I have ADHD. So nothing changes with Perry, and then he has the label. This in education is wonderful to see.
It does
that you have a
change because
kid.
we've labeled you now. There's something wrong.
Yeah, but nothing changed. I'm me, and then the kids, they get a label, and then they go to school. Here's my label. I have dyspraxia, and that's my handwriting is awful.
That's right.
Oh, but now it's okay. But before that, it was not okay. Huh?
Right. Okay, so neurodivergent, divergent, typical, that duality. And to be fair to everybody, we live in a world of tall, short, wet, dry.
Sure.
We live in that world of the other, and that's how we understand the phenomena around us. It's also how we understand ourselves. So we kind of understand where it's coming from, but it still doesn't fit. So if neurodivergent is not the label, this is not a movement of neurodivergent, how should we think about the Octopus movement?
I like to see, and there is a lot of neurodiversity, but I will come back to that. There is a lot of neurodiversity within the movement, and I understand why, and it has to do with nonlinear thinking.
Right.
But how I want to see and how I see the Octopus movement is human intelligence. It's humans. It's the uniqueness of every individual. I always explain that I'm so proud that we've created something globally where almost 7,000 people are engaged with. We're all connected. We don't have any rules. There are no rules. So there is not a rule of you need to be nonlinear to be in the Octopus movement, or you have to have 8 arms, or you have to be a multipotentialite. And that's what it's about for me. And that's also why I embrace everyone and everything. And don't put me in the box with the Octopus movement as a neurodiversity movement, because that's not fair for all of us. Because what if you're in the space before? What if you're neurotypical and a beautiful human, and you're also here at the Octopus movement? It is the awareness of people that don't automatically fit the box. It's about humanity. It's about humans, and it's not about systems. I think that's one of the key elements.
I love it. And one of the main goals, besides, taking this from just some conversations in Clubhouse years ago, and now actually having an opportunity to help the broader world with a lot of the work that you're doing, which we can get into later. But it's about introducing linear and nonlinear thinkers. It's about enabling linear thinkers to become part of this movement and to explore nonlinear thinking they may have, to rub off on each other, to empower that osmosis, if you will.
Exactly. And the thing, what I love most about this, Casey, is Dr. Janice always says this, I love that. She's always saying, I've never seen a linear 2-year-old. She always says that. And so the official title of the Octopus Movement is the Global Human Mycelium of Nonlinear Thinkers Solving the Unsolvable for a Sustainable Future for All of Us. Now, nonlinear thinkers are humans.
Yeah.
So it's all of us.
Yeah.
And we're all nonlinear thinkers. And we're all conditioned to think in a linear way, thanks to school.
Yeah.
And I'm not against systems,
Yeah.
but this is just how the reality is.
Now, systems are great. My businesses are based on systems. When A happens, then B, then either C or D. I mean, you need systems and processes, particularly to automate things in life. So there's no knock on systems necessarily, but it is restrictive, and it's garbage in, garbage out. It's data in, data out as to what that system work on. But you mentioned mycelium, and I looked it up. And mycelium is a root-like structure of a fungus consisting of a mass of branching thread-like hyphaea. It's a fungus, I think. I'm probably not pronouncing it. But tell me about that mycelium, how this thread-like, the fungus, the root-like branches, how is that, why do you use that term when it comes to the octopus movement? And unpack that for me.
I'm so excited about this. This is nature. This is what it's about. So this is the ultimate system.
Yeah.
And it's the system that is already there. We're
Yeah.
not creating anything. It's just there. So when people were saying to me in the beginning, oh, so cool, the Octopus Movement, you're creating such a beautiful community. I always had this community, there was something with me that triggered the word community, thinking, that's not it. And I love language in that way. It's a trigger, and then it took me weeks to think about it. What's wrong with community? For me, community, what's wrong with that is that for me, community is a system. There are rules. You go in and you're out. You're in the community or you're not in the community, and you create a community. And the Octopus Movement is about what is already there, and what is already there is like the mycelium. All these trees that I have in the garden here, they're all connected. Yeah. They're all talking to each other. They're all supporting each other, sharing nutrients, taking care. So if you chop a tree and the leaves are gone and the branches are gone, what remains stays alive because of the other trees.
Yeah.
And I think that is so beautiful. And in the forest with the mycelium, they're not saying, well, you tree over there, your way of thinking is really strange. So piss off. We're not giving you any sugar, right? That's weird. And we're doing that in humanity. Like, no. Not for you. I don't understand you. So I put you in that separate box. I'm not helping you. But we are connected. And this is not being woo-woo. This is nature. We are connected.
Pierre, I love that you brought up the trees and that it's already there. As you know, I live on Maui and in Hawaii here in the Pacific. And so there are native forests here, and many of them have been deforested just due to years of cattle ranching and development and so on. And then erosion happened. If there's no trees, the rain, the water will flow into the ocean. So they planted new trees in the 1900s, but they were just one set of trees and rows, and it just still didn't work. But when you go into an existing native forest that has been there for millions of years, it is a ton of different types of trees at different levels. It's a rainforest, it's a cloud forest. And when they're connected like that, what that really does, most importantly, is it stores the water. the fresh water will drip on the leaves, and it'll actually get stored in the ground, which then goes to the watershed and you can collect and drink. If there is no mycelium there, if there isn't the canopy, if then there isn't the ground cover, the water hits the ground and just flows directly down and you have erosion. And so that system was already there.
Yeah.
That system, that interlocking was already there. So I like how it's not a community, because it's like something created. I mean, we have this web, we have these connections, we have this symbiosis, if you will. It's already there, and you're really just highlighting it with the Octopus Movement.
We're not doing anything. It's there. The connections are there, and we're just creating the awareness that it's there. And it's almost like manifestation. For me, manifestation, it's there, end of story. So our connection, Casey, you're there, I'm here, nothing changes, and then we see each other on Zoom. So nothing new is created. We're just giving the opportunity to see each other.
That's right.
That's why I love the human mycelium so much. It's that creation of connections all over the world where we understand this. And the beauty of nature is that people who do understand get this, and they continue with that. So it's there, and some of them see it, some of them don't. And the less we want, the more available we become, right? You don't have to be in that mycelium. It's there anyway.
It's there anyway. Be around it. Be in the halo of it. Be in the orbit of it. Perry, could talk to you for hours about this. I want to jump to the documentary and to the Forbes article, but then just put a bow on this for me. How should we? It's not as great as it is. Neurodivergency is an element of it, but this is not a neurodivergent community, a community of neurodivergent people. Again, how should we think about the Octopus Movement?
The Octopus Movement is it's a global mycelium of humans where it resonates with us. And like, yes, we are nonlinear thinkers. That means me as one of many have my own ideas, and I want to do something with that. And I just don't want to be just a little part of a bigger system. I want to be me, and I want to be myself. And neurodiversity is fascinating. It's fascinating to discover your own neurodiversity. It's fascinating to discover that maybe you have autism and you have been masking. That is a beautiful discovery, and that's awesome, right? And how cool would it be to be in a mycelium of people where you don't have to mask, where you can just be yourself?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And I get it why the system is so popular, because when you take linear, nonlinear thinking, and sometimes people say, oh, Perry is against linear thinking. Don't think that way. It's not about this or that. It's just understanding that there is a gut feeling and there's thinking, and that combination is wisdom. It's not just about thinking. It's not just about nonlinear thinking or linear thinking. It's a combination of everything that makes it beautiful.
It makes it beautiful. And, Descartes, I feel like American, European, what they would call Western thinking is based on that Cartesian cogito ergo sum, right? I think, therefore I am. And I think thinking is definitely an element of it, but it's half of it. He left out the feeling. He left out the spontaneity. He didn't touch on this idea of, I'm a sports fan. So when an athlete is in the zone, what they're literally thinking is that athlete, that big macho athlete, is really being woo-woo. They're just not thinking about things. They're in the heart.
Yeah.
They're right.
They're flying, right?
They're flying. And
time flies by. Time is irrelevant because they're in the nonlinear zone. Time is irrelevant. Yeah. Everyone has been in the flow, and like, where did time go? This was so much fun, right?
You're not in your head. You're
not in your head. And maybe you are in your head because you're using your experience, your knowledge, your skills like an athlete, and your muscle memory. You're using everything, and it becomes in balance, and you're being a human, and you're using your human intelligence. And that's
time's flying by here, so I know I'm having a blast. There's a spontaneity about it that I feel. is what you're after. So great.
And Casey, I think sometimes with regards to, what is the octopus movement, I'm thinking now that we're the quiet ones. We're the quiet ones, we're thinking, we're feeling, everything is happening, and we're not per se focused on that content, that results, that power, that ego. We're looking at a bigger picture, and
right.
and I like to see that as the quiet one. I like to be quiet.
It's there's a non-attachment element
Yes.
of it. So all right, the Forbes article, huge feature, documentary coming out, The Beauty Between Thoughts. Tell me a little bit about both of these.
Documentary, I'm so excited about it. It's coming this month. It's so scary. It's so beautiful. I hope that people who will see the documentary can feel the beauty between thoughts. Where's the title coming from? It's coming from music. Music is the space between notes. That's music. And for me, being is the space between thoughts. If I want to go to my nonlinear thinking, I'm not thinking, okay, Perry, be nonlinear now, come up with something weird. We did a session recently with Lydia, and we were doing a brain lunch, and she was asking, well, create something out of the blue. You can't think about that. The things you create are the things that pop up all of a sudden without thinking. And that's the space between thoughts. And the beauty between thoughts is to recognize that space as nonlinear space, as you. That's what you create. And that's beautiful. It's awesome. And to go there, you need to separate. You need to be quiet. You need to embrace your thinking as well. It's not just about meditation and you have to be quiet and stop thinking. It is the space between the thoughts and not just the meditative state.
Yeah.
And yoga, yes, since when you are quiet, that's funny. I love yoga. I love you non-quiet, but I am quiet sometimes, yoga. A lot of times.
If there was no quiet, all we would have is thoughts or noise. Think of a song where there was no quiet to it. It would just be
horrible.
It would just be some
Right?
straight sound.
Yeah.
You need the quiet. Think of a foreground without a background. There's no foreground. And I love this idea of between the thoughts, because to your point about just being there, is that it enables us to learn about ourselves, because we learned about ourselves by seeing what's not ourselves or what we perceive as not ourselves. It is that duality of it, but that's okay, because that's how we find things in here. But I love that idea, because in many ways, the beauty between the thoughts is really the space that I also need to go to understand myself, to understand my purpose.
And to understand the other human, right? If we're not expecting, if we're not judging, we need to go to that space, because we're programmed for thousands of years in our thinking. And oh boy, are we good in judging? Are we good in judgment? And that brain is firing away. And in order not to listen to that, you need to go into that black hole in your thinking.
All right, Dr. Octopus, yes. I got a few more minutes left. You're the one. Talk about no rules. You told me it's a 30 minutes, so there are some rules, and in this movement, don't call it a community. The Octopus Movement is maturing to a point where it's really looking and is to solve some global issues for organizations, for companies, for NGOs. As much as you can, tell me about these.
I was triggered by the Forbes article also to talk about this. We're not a neurodiversity movement, because they created the article, "This team of neurodiverse consultants aims to shake up how you think about business." It's a really cool article. And she starts writing immediately about nonlinear thinking, and I like that. So what we do is we have a global think tank. We bring all these human intelligence together, And there's so much diversity in all perspectives. And everybody understands in today's world, we need different thinking. We need different thinking. And what does different thinking means is that everybody knows that the best intellect is not solving problems. You know, it's not about that. It's about wisdom. So it's beyond just thinking. And by creating a global nonlinear brain where there is a lot of diversity in all ways, then you create a brain that is available, that has a lot of wisdom. And we think from all kinds of different elements and directions and feel, and everything is happening there. So that's what we do. We have a think tank, and I'm so proud of that. We solve the unsolvable. We do that for the Brain First Alliance. So that's for all the corporates out there, startups, scale ups, corporate education. We solve what needs to be solved. But for ourselves, we focus on 5 areas, 6. Number one, it's you know, how we solve your unsolvable things in life. The other thing is homelessness, hunger, climate change, education, and well-being or happiness. I think in that mycelium that is already there, the answers are already there as well, and it's just connecting these dots, and we can really change something. And I'm so excited about that. And we produce white papers about it, and we help organizations and NGOs and other nonprofits. It's awesome. It's there,
I,
and let's use it.
it's fantastic. I love to see the Octopus movement moving this way. Again, you do want to fit into a linear box in some ways. You know, a team of consultants. That's how people will understand. And having worked with Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies, there are so many problems that need to be solved. There's so much wisdom that's needed there, and a different sort of thinking. So if you're working at a big company, if you're working at a startup, if you are someone who just has issues with an organization, I think the Octopus movement, just that black box of different type of thinking, is a fantastic resource to pull on. Now, Root, we just got a few minutes left, but artificial intelligence, we all know Gen AI and language models, large language models are so huge, as they should be. But where does human intelligence, this thing called artificial intelligence, and the human mycelium all fit together? How should we think of these interacting, and how do you want us to think of this interacting as we move forward, particularly with this type of how you can solve these complex issues?
I got this book from Irma when we were in a museum shop once. I love the book, how it looks like. And will AI replace us? No. And I love this, that George Boyle in 1815 created the laws of thought, Casey. Did you know that? The laws of thought. And it's the language that we use at computers. That's the language model we're using at ChatGPT and all the others. I find it fascinating to call it artificial intelligence, where we think that computers are more like us, but I'm wondering if we became more like computers. But that's a different topic. If everything is already there, if this is all nature, then everything is in balance. We agree on that, and there is yin and yang always. So if there's so much energy going to artificial intelligence these days, and so many things are changing, then that same amount of energy is going to be on the other side as well. And the other side of artificial intelligence is human intelligence. It's us. So people are freaking out of losing their jobs of AI, but I think there's this amazing shift where we are going to celebrate even more what human intelligence is. And human intelligence is what we have in the Octopus movement. It's you, it's everyone. And I asked ChatGPT when I was playing with the title of The Beauty Between Thoughts, I asked ChatGPT, where are you between thoughts? Right? I thought, that's funny. I'm curious in how he will respond. And it was a beautiful answer. He said, I cannot answer this because I don't have a consciousness.
Yeah.
I don't go there. I cannot be between thoughts as artificial intelligence. And for me, that's it. I think
Yeah.
so many companies will, and organizations and people will organize things based on AI. It goes fast, it's very intelligent, it's wonderful. And so the next level is going to be higher, and the human intelligence is going to be even more important. Art is going to be more
Yeah.
important. Writing, poetry, creating new thoughts is everything. So I'm super excited about this.
I love that viewpoint. At the end of the day, artificial intelligence, those models, ChatGPT, is software. It's software. And I don't mean to be flippant about it or just say it's just software, but it is software. And I think what you're saying is let that take some of the tasks, just like a tractor took some of the tasks in farming that we no longer do or expect to do. And this can unlock the wisdom that we may not even be aware of or conscious of. As
Absolutely,
humans.
because we're so conditioned in that theory of thought that we're
Yeah.
stuck there. And
Yeah.
there's something else there that's so beautiful. And the example, and I know we're running out of time,
Yeah.
but I don't care. There was, artificial intelligence made a musical piece. Beautiful, Casey. Wonderful. It was perfect. This is the problem. It was too perfect.
Yeah.
The human touch is that it's not perfect, and that's the wrong timing. That is a nanosecond
Yeah.
off in music can make something so beautiful, and we can feel it here.
It
So
it's
human
a
intelligence is everything.
that lack of perfection. I know the warts and all is where you build the trust, right? You
Yeah.
build the trust. We're often intimidated by perfection. All right, real quickly, I know there's a very inexpensive way for people to get involved in the movement from the comfort of their Aeron chair or their PayPal account or Venmo account from their phone. Talk to me about the Angel Donor Network.
Oh yeah, the donors. Angels we have in the
Angel,
movement.
sorry.
Angels. So the angels are wonderful. People were asking us, how can we do something extra? I cannot be with all the Zoom sessions or all the projects or in the think tank or as a founding member or in the art project. How can we do more? Become an angel. I looked up where the angel investor is coming from. Apparently from theaters, art. Here we go
Yeah.
again. And theaters were having difficulties, and they needed the support of their guests. I see it that way as well. That's why there are angel donors in the Octopus Movement. Starts already from $8. It's a fancy coffee from Starbucks, and you help us already for us to do so much more and to have a bigger impact in the world and to work with
Yeah.
homelessness, hunger, climate change, happiness, and education, and do something
Fantastic.
important there.
Everyone, check that out. The Angel Donor Network, only $8. Come join if you can. Just want to go a few minutes over. I have a few questions. Perry, on a personal level, what are you afraid of? What blocks you? What obstacles? What nagging doubts? What are you still trying to cut out or overcome or at least mitigate in your day to day? You're a person like the rest of us. You're a visionary founder, but you're still a person like us. What are you trying to overcome, or what have you overcome recently?
Wow. Shit. I should have known that question,
I didn't. I
Casey.
didn't send this to you earlier. I'm sorry.
That's a wonderful question. What scares me? I became homeless. That was the big thing in my life. That scared the shit out of me. Losing everything, not being with my kids. What scares me is the well-being of my kids. If and I'm afraid of heights. I love hiking in the mountains, and I shit my pants. I'm really afraid of heights. But being homeless, being
Yeah.
there was amazing as well.
Yeah.
It's I always thought there is no suffering. Well, there is suffering, and maybe we have to embrace that because maybe that suffering can teach us something that is beautiful. And surviving homelessness also thanks to some people that were very close to me, and also so disappointed by so many people that were close to me. Discovering that it's you, no matter what. For me, nothing changed. My thinking was the same during the homelessness as before. Nothing changes. Nothing changes.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. That makes me less scared of things in life. That's why I find it so difficult to think about that, because it's not necessary.
That which did not kill you only made you stronger. Uh,
They should make a song of that, right?
they should. But at the same time, just that weakness of not being able to care for those people in your life who are looking for you to care for them. Yeah, I know that. I know that well. Well, I could keep going on. I'm going to call it here, Perry. Thank you so much. You've enlightened me today on how to really think about the movement, but also just open my mind to everything that you're doing. So, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I know everyone
Thank
else
you,
does as
Casey.
well.
I think you're an awesome podcast host here at the Octopus Movement. And thank you, everybody, for sending all these beautiful comments. Um, Wonderful. Again, I'm not doing anything, it's already there. And it's
It,
the people that light up creates everything. And
and
they're,
isn't it
they're
great,
there.
Perry? All these founding members that we get to interview, and all these new people who are joining from all over. I mean, I part of my day is who am I gonna meet next? Which announcement am I going to see next? And where are they from?
And what's their story, and why they don't look that nonlinear to me. What's happening? And then you
That's
start
funny.
talking with them and like, oh, okay, I get
Yeah,
it. it's
yeah,
it's wonderful. We have 110 now. It
yeah.
started a year ago. I remember this so well. Oh, let's do something with the founding members. Started a year ago, just over a year ago, and we have now 110, and we will stop at 250. Because the number 250, I have to explain this. I lived in China, and 250 means weirdo. That's why it's 250 founding members, because
I
we're
love it.
weird.
Yes, embracing it.
Yeah.
Perry, thank you. Thank you for all the work you do. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. And to everyone listening out there, thank you. And watching out there, thank you so much for being part of the Octopus Movement podcast. On behalf of myself, on behalf of Karen and Perry, on behalf of all the other great podcast hosts that I'm able to share this with, we just want to say thank you so much for being part of this. And we love your involvement. We love your comments. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank
And
you.
we love all the ideas. So if you have an idea, if you want to change something, if you, whatever it is, reach out. We
That's
love
right.
that. Yeah.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. Thank you, Casey.